Good evening and welcome to the Gfinity StarCraft Spring Championship 2 from London, England. There's the trophy that 16 of the best players in the world are going to be competing for. I'm Richard Lewis, your host for this event, and with me are two incredible StarCraft minds and allegedly pros. I think they might have played the game a little bit. We've got one of the jewels in the UK esports crown here in the form of the Muslim, and next to him is our hardcore Dutch import, Harstem. So how are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. You know, I was at Gfinity last month. It was a great experience. I was a caster back then. Here, analyst with you, Richard, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like this time, the talent pool's a little bit different. We've got real legends over here, such as SOS, that don't venture abroad all that much. So I'm really excited to see what goes down.
Yeah, same for me. I've been here last year in August for the first Gfinity, and I loved it a lot back then. And now it's even better. It's in a cinema, and the player pool is so much better. And I'm really looking forward to this event.
You could say you're buzzing.
I'm buzzing, mate.
We've been teaching him English words to try and flesh him out. He loves British
Really
English.
legit English
And it's a big
words
moment for you as well, because obviously this is the closest you're ever going to get to a trophy. So,
you know what, Richard Lewis? I'll have you know, I did beat a WCS champion at a Gfinity.
Where are the trophies, though? Anyway, so what we're going to do is, I think we'll quickly run down, because as the guys are saying, this is a really stacked tournament. Yeah. So we're going to quickly talk you through it. Now, as we said, we have got 16 of the best players in the world here, but we'll talk a little bit about the format, what they're going to have to do in order to win the $5,000 prize and 300 WCS ranking points. So we'll just bring that up for you now, so you guys at home. Why don't you talk us through it, Ben? Because obviously you know this is going to be in the dual championship format. This is something that I'm sure most fans are familiar with, but just in case someone's tuning in for the first time, why don't you tell us how it works?
Right, so it's exactly the same as how they run GSL, but if you haven't seen that, I don't know what you're doing. But anyhow, each group will consist of 4 players. So let's call them player 1 through 4. Player 1 will play player 2, player 3 will play player 4. The losers will then play against each other. The loser of that match goes out. The winner, rather the winner's match of both of those matches, the winner goes on and passes the group. Then the 2 guys that are left in the group, they go head to head. And then obviously you end up with a winner and a loser of those matches. So we end up with 2 people going through and 2 people going out of each group.
And of course, as you can see there in the prize pool, there is $5,000 for the winner and 300 WCS points. Harstem, you're no stranger to gobbling up those points yourself. I mean, how important are those to have at an event?
Yeah, it's normally WCS and the GSLs and the SSLs are the main income of WCS points, let's say that. But these are the events where you supplement. You get the 300 points, you get 200 points there, you get 150 there. And at the end of the day, all of those add up together and they could total up to 1,000 or 1,500. And at the end of the day, it's what really matters. All little bits add up. And these kind of events are very important.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be an awesome event. Like I said, it is stacked. I think what we'll do now is we'll have a little talk about these groups, guys, because honestly, I was doing my research coming down, because I don't think it's any secret to the guys at home. You know, I do have to sort of jump in and out of StarCraft now and then, and I'm like, oh, what, he's good now? But there's no disputing that the people here at this tournament are all, you know, capable champions, incredible players, lots of Koreans, and I'd say it's very hard to pick a group of death. We'll bring up the groups for you guys at home to have a look at here now, and you can see just the absolute depth of talent we've got here. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to pick a player in each group that maybe we should be looking at, who you think is going to win and go through. I'll start with you, Ben. I see your boy Jaedong's in there, but do you think he's going to win the group?
Well, you know, he is now the best player in EG after I left, you know, just saying.
Obviously.
That being said, though, he has been having a rough time as of late. Like, throughout the whole 2013, he was the 2nd place finisher of pretty much every tournament throughout the year. And he finally did pick up a win, but he was going through 2nd through everything. Real hard tournaments such as BlizzCon, but recently he's really had a bit of a slump. That being said, he's got his visa sorted, which was probably a huge barrier on his mind of like really trying to progress, and now he's just got into WCS by defeating his teammate Suppy 3-0. I'm looking to see the Jaedong that can be the true tyrant.
Okay, Kevin, what about Group B? Who do you fancy for that one?
Well, I'm not sure who I fancy as the winner of the group, but I think the player we should be looking at is Bunny. Bunny has been a very dominant player in Europe. He won Fragbite recently. He got top 4 at WCS Season 1. And he almost beat Polder, almost getting to the final, was extremely close. He showed amazing TVT. in that WCS, and he showed amazing TVT lately against Beastie in his Challenger match. And on top of that, Bunny has been known for his great Terran versus Prodal. So I think if I would have to pick a foreigner out of the 4 that are playing here, Bunny would be the guy to look at. He could get a top 4 finish, maybe even repeat what he did last year when he won Gfinity.
Well, he is the Korean killer, so anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him. What about Group C? Who do we fancy for that one?
Let's have a look at Group C. Bling every day.
No, come
no. I mean, like,
Let's be real.
Richard,
I love Sam, but
Richard. Actually, that being said, like Bling, he's been doing a lot better than people think. Like, even though he is my, he's my heart right there. He may surprise. That being said, Sax 3, very, very scary, but SOS.
Yeah.
He's one of the best, if not the best, Protosses in the world. He's a true magician when it comes to the game. Some of the things that he makes work.
And lots of good results lately from him. I was looking at the form that he was coming into this tournament. I mean, is he a potential winner of the whole thing?
Any tournament that SOS goes into, he is a top 3 contender, if not a first place winner. Like he comes in, if there's $100,000 on the line for first place and 0 for second, he's the guy that will start proxy 2 base in the other guy's base, twice in a row when $100,000 is on the line compared to 0. He's like not only a great player and a great thinker, he's also got balls of steel.
Interesting point for you guys at home as well, while we're just talking about Bling. We actually said to Bling, when you lose, when you go out in the groups, do you want to come and do some analysis? And he was having none of it. Usually he's like, yeah, whatever, mate. But he was actually saying, I'm going to win the whole thing. Seriously. I straight in with the laughter. But no, I mean, does he have a chance? Because you said he was like number 1 in the lab.
Like a few weeks ago, if you asked me that, I'd have said no, like Bling's going out. But honestly, like, I don't know if I should be revealing any of this, but when Bling practices, he actually practices very hard, and he's truly been studying his opponent. And some of the things that he's been telling me, like, he definitely has a lock on SOS. And honestly, if you try and study Bling, there isn't anything to go on. Like, he hasn't really been playing or officially playing in matches. So for SOS, he's going in and he's like, who's this guy? But Bling, he's been rank 1 on the ladder, and nobody really knew who it was.
I think he's bantering.
Mate. No.
Not bantering for once. No banter.
Legit. And like, I think everybody in the scene knows that if Bling is on form, like I remember him going to a WCG where he eliminated everybody in his group and beat Polt one time, which was just like, who is this guy? It's just this guy with lots of tattoos and stuff. But no, he can be really freaking sick, man.
Yeah. Let's just quickly look to Group D, and then we'll get Kevin to pick his winner for that. So, I mean, this one's interesting because obviously it's an all-Korean group. It's the only all-Korean group there. Who's your pick of the bunch?
I would have to go with Hydra here. He had an amazing performance last Gfinity. He got 2nd place, just behind Parting. Parting isn't here this time, so I'm really feeling Hydra for this group, but also for the complete tournament, actually. He's a top 3 contender for sure, in my mind at least. I'm not sure what you think about that.
I mean, this is a really tough group to call because Solar, he's won DreamHacks against players that you never thought he was going to beat, such as SOS. He owned him 3-0 in the final, and this is a pretty heavy Zerg stacked group. San, he was going through Zerg's left, right, like pronto, he was doing this 3-gate, 4-gate all-in, and he made it look easy, it made it look in balance, whereas Symbol, for a while there, like I'm talking about a year and a half ago, he really did look like the new upcoming Zerg. Yeah. And so that group, even though I would say Hydra right now, we've seen a lot of him, and he hasn't disappointed. He's truly consistent in every like
department.
Every department. Thank you, Richard, for saving me. But yeah, he is very, very consistent. But I don't think it's black and white at all.
No. Well, look, thanks for your thoughts on that. Now, with such a stacked lineup, I'm sure you guys at home realise we've had to sort of cherry pick all the matches. So I'm going to take you through the schedule and who we've got. Now, obviously, we're going to be bringing you the main stage games here, and you can see first up, it's going to be Jaedong and ShoWTime, and the guy we've just been talking so much about a little later on, Bling versus SOS, Bunny MC. I think that's going to be a great match as well. I'm looking forward to that one, and then, of course, Solar versus Hydra at the end. But don't despair. If you're a fan of the other players that are maybe playing on the other stage, you are going to be able to follow that with our partners, Base Trade TV, at twitch.tv/Base Trade TV, and you can see they've got all of those games there. Now, I think that's a really good schedule, and we've worked kind of really hard to pick the best games out, but because they're going to be running concurrent, are there any games that you think have got, grandstanding potential, main stage potential that are going to be on Base Trade TV?
I mean, now that the matches are off the screen, I'm not really sure. But honestly, any of the players here that are playing against one another, they all deserve to be here for one reason or another. And I'm just really glad we'll be getting to see all of these matches going on in one way or another.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking specifically about Jaedong and ShoWTime in a little bit. But I think just to let you guys know, we are going to be bringing you, like I say, all of that stuff on Base Trade TV. But also, we're going to have streams where you can watch it in your own language, so you can see they're on screen now. If you want to have a look at players in your native tongue and see how they're doing, we've got so many partners for all of this. Just pick and choose. You will certainly be catered to, and thanks to all of our partners for providing that service. Now, guys, let's get into the business end of our analysis. This is what it's all about. This is where we get top banter and we raise it to classic banter, okay? We're going to be talking about our first game. It's Jaedong versus ShoWTime. Now, I was coming in and I'm thinking, I don't need to research this one all that much because Jaedong's going to win it. And then within 5 minutes of me coming in the venue, you're like, well, Jaedong's in a bit of a slump. ShoWTime's really good. So this is actually an upset potential right at the top of the show.
You know, if you told me to call this match like a week ago, I'd say ShoWTime would win it pretty much for sure. That being said, like Jaedong, he's just won his WCS match 3-0 against Suppy. And Suppy, he's no slouch, but he's been playing here as a Storm, so can you really say that much about it? But ShoWTime also, he just finished top 4 in WCS, along with Bunny as the highest placing foreigner, you know? Like, that is no small feat whatsoever. But that being said, ShoWTime, he was an absolute monster against any Zerg that he came up against. But he failed to qualify for WCS Premier this season despite coming 4th against a Zerg called a Laser that a lot of people haven't heard that much about, despite being very, very talented. So it's a little rocky, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. If you would have asked me a week ago, I think I would have given the edge to ShoWTime. But in his current form, he did look a bit shaky. And he also mentioned afterwards in a little bit of a blog post that he didn't feel too confident in his play for the past couple of days. However, he did have 2 more days to prepare for this Gfinity, and a prepared ShoWTime is a very dangerous ShoWTime, especially for a player like Jaedong that has been in a bit of a slump.
And he's an EPS champion, you know, like he's used to preparing for players, so that's what those Germans do very well, you know, they're very systematic.
Just to get all the stereotypes
Just
there.
whip them out there, you know.
So just quickly, before we go over to the casters, let's get some predictions. I want to nail you down and actually get your thoughts on who's going to win.
Like, it's really tough because despite the Swarm Host nerf that recently happened...
And we'll talk more about that, I think.
I never recall Jaedong being a true Swarm Hoster. So I don't think that really affects him that much at all. But I think it's going to be 3-2 either way, to be honest.
Okay. And what about yourself, Kevin? What's your prediction? He's going for either way. Are you
I think I'm pretty sure Jaedong's going to win this one.
Pretty sure, eh?
Yeah, pretty sure Jaedong's going to win this one. He's never been much of a Swarmos player. All I remember Jaedong doing with Swarmos is losing. So maybe removing Swarmos from the game was a blessing for Jaedong. You don't get tricked into making them anymore.
Okay, well, look, we'll come back and see who's been right. You little dirty fence sitter. I'm going to give you a hard time
ShoWTime.
now. But we are... Oh, he's done it. Okay, so we are going to throw out our casters. It's going to be Jaedong Rotterdam to bring us this first game. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, Richard, and welcome everybody to the Caster Desk here for our first game today with Rotterdam, and we're going to have a really good game here, ShoWTime versus Jaedong.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun. I completely agree with what most of the boys said on the couch. ShoWTime looked really good for the last few months, and if you would ask me 2-3 weeks ago, I would have probably gone with ShoWTime over Jaedong as well. As silly as that may sound, as of course Jaedong is the big RTS legend, and ShoWTime is still this sort of up-and-comer, even though he's been well established within the European scene. But for, you know, the average StarCraft fan, he's still an up-and-comer. But the last few days, it looked really rough for ShoWTime. He didn't look like the same player as he was in WCS Season 1. But we'll see how he does today against the one true Dong. We've got the maps on our screen right here.
Yeah, the map's already settled. We have, of course, a best of 3, as you can see with Cactus Valley. We have Cone and we have Vani Research Station once again. And what you already mentioned, like, actually Jaedong looking a bit shaky when he was playing the last Gfinity, and just a week after that he was also in Copenhagen for Copenhagen Games, and at both events he didn't really excel, and he was not the Jaedong that we all expected to see. He said in the past that he really wants 2015 to be another year where he can get his results in, and that didn't really happen. So it's a little bit tricky for him here now, and we're gonna see the maps and also the order once again. We're actually starting off with Code and going then as the second map into Vani.
Yeah, Coda is one of the new maps that's very popular among all the pros. Coda and Echo, I would say, are the two maps that we have embraced the most as as pro community or even as diehard StarCraft community. Like, those two maps are really good, and they're gonna be the new Overgrowth, basically for the next year or so. We're going to see that over and over again. But the last map is the most fun map in this series. I think if we get to game number 3, it's going to get really crazy. But for now, we are loaded into our very first game of this weekend, and it's going to be played on Coda.
And down to the bottom right of the map, we have our Protoss player from Germany in red. It is ShoWTime. And he's, of course, going up against a legend all the way up to the top left, the Tyrant. For EG, it is Jaedong. This is actually going to be one of those games where especially ShoWTime has to show his skills a bit. And he's been mentioning, as already said by the analysis a bit earlier, that he didn't really feel too well playing his WCS games. He lost there, made a post afterwards. He left his team, he's currently teamless, was a former player for Alternate. Yes.
Wow, I missed that.
Yeah, I think that probably the result was part of that, and maybe his contract was hinging on that. I'm not quite sure, but after that, he made a post and said, okay, he left Alternate. He was not really happy with the results there. He said that he's also going to take a short break after the event here, just for like a week or two. And right now, this is just another moment for him to prove himself. And he has said that he's going to play here, that he's going to give it his all. And of course, he wants to win. And against Jaedong, that would be an amazing victory if he can pull it off. But the Dong has, of course, other plans here.
I would be very surprised if ShoWTime doesn't find a new team pretty much immediately whenever he wants to. He's one of the hottest Protoss players in Europe, and he's been one of the hottest Protoss players in Europe for a while, despite that recent very unfortunate event in the WCS Season 2 qualifiers. But I think it's time to forget about it. If he just comes out here, guns blazing, defeats Jaedong, and then also wins the winner match and makes to the quarterfinals, then nobody will talk about that series against Elaser anymore. So this is definitely a big moment for him, but also a very, very big moment for Jaedong. A lot of players at the end of a year, at the end of 2014, they say, hey guys, we're going to take a small break, I'm going to take 2-3 weeks off the game. Jaedong did the same, but instead of taking 2 or 3 weeks, I think he took 2 or 3 months. Like, Jaedong just did not play in anything, did not go to any tournament, did not even try to compete in WCS Season 1 or in GSL for that matter. Now, recently he came back, he has qualified immediately for WCS Premier League Season 2 after obtaining that visa, which the Muslim mentioned as well, and that must have been a huge stress relief. But still, this is the first big tournament where we see Jaedong again, and obviously this is a moment for him as well to show immediately to the world, like, hey, I'm still Jaedong, I still have what it takes.
Pointing out the visa is actually really smart, because this is one of the things that really occupied him a lot when he was playing in Copenhagen. We met him at Breakfast, playing in myself, and he was still like having his laptop there, taking care of the visa issues, and you could really see that, of course, he wants to win the tournament, he wants to perform, but his head was also somewhere else, and that definitely played a role there, in my opinion. So right now, he has a chance to just show his skills again. We already have him with the third hatch here in the game, and for ShoWTime, it's just one of those moments where he can prove that he is really good, especially in this matchup, since he is going to face 3 Zerg players in his group.
Now, while we were going over the history, I'm not 100% sure. Did ShoWTime see the gases in Jaedong's main base? Did he see that they were not actually taken yet? Yeah, he saw both, and he also saw Jaedong go up to 3 bases. Now, Jaedong's response is logical, of course, because he saw that ShoWTime was going Nexus first on the other side of the map. These Zerglings might actually be annoying, might force ShoWTime to micro his probes just a tiny bit. I hate when this happens, by the way. If you lose one probe, it's not even the fact that you lose a probe, it's the mental disadvantage that you get there. But there is a Zealot to save the day, so that's no problem at all. What I'm very curious about is to see if ShoWTime is going to put on some gateway pressure, because there's a good chance that Jaedong is going to be very greedy and delay those extractors for multiple minutes, and if he does that, that definitely opens a small window of opportunity for ShoWTime to do something very funky with Stalkers if he wants to.
It was actually a problem for Jaedong the last time that he played here. When he was at Gfinity last time, he fell victim to a lot of early gateway pressure, and you just could see that a few of his timings were off there. It was kind of funny that Harston mentioned that he, with the Swarm Host player that we saw from Jaedong, because he attempted several times to use them, but as Harston pointed out in the analysis desk, he never really won a game with them, and that definitely was a big blow. And of course, now we have Swarm Host completely changed, so this is affecting the map a lot, and Zerg players in general are not very happy to play against Protoss these days.
No, most Zergs definitely struggle a little bit. It just requires a different skill set right now. Instead of relying on Spore Crawlers, Creep Spread, and Swarm Host, and suddenly you have to control armies that consist of maybe Ultras, Brood Lords, Vipers, and Infestors, and that is an army composition that takes a lot of practice, because all of the most important units are very squishy, the Infestors and the Vipers, and it's very hard. One time they're out of position, they get feedback, they will die immediately. Anyways, in this game, we saw ShoWTime drop his stack building. The forge, he's going for a very quick +1. Might still do a little bit of gateway pressure off the back of this, but I really don't see that happening, especially not with the sentry on the way. So ShoWTime is taking a very passive approach to this matchup. He's like, alright Jaedong, I saw you went up to 3 bases. I know this is going to be a longer game for you, but I'm not afraid. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go up to 3 bases as quick as I possibly can as a Protoss player, which is obviously a little bit later than a Zerg, but I still think this is going to be a very quick third base for ShoWTime.
Yeah, with the third base here for Jaedong now also safe and secure. Now we have him with the Roach one, also the speed upgrade for the Zergling. So if there is going to be any gateway aggression coming, he's going to be ready for it by now. That window of opportunity that we talked about earlier has already passed. ShoWTime is going to face a Zerg player who is definitely ready for all kinds of shenanigans. And at this point, it's really the job of Jaedong to scout out what's going on here. He has Overlords up position down to the bottom right, 2 of them that can double check also for the third base, and he needs to find the time.
That is a lot of roaches on the production tab for Jaedong. That is not the type of roaches you make where, well, I'm not sure if the Protoss is going to attack me. I'm going to make 3 or 4 roaches and we'll see if he doesn't attack me. Then it didn't slow me down that much. This is a big commitment for Jaedong. 10 roaches, 16 Zerglings. He wants to cancel this third base of ShoWTime. ShoWTime is going to spot. He sees a lot of larvae in production. That would be so nice for him to see these Zerglings and roaches hatch. And I think he saw most of it. He sees that the evolution chambers are late as well. If the sentries are in a good position, I think that ShoWTime can defend this. It will all come down to the force fields. It's like all execution from this point, but it's not a build or the loss by any means. And now he spots the roaches as well, so here we go. This is where you need excellent force fields.
Yeah, there come the sentries already. The Zerglings are streaming in. Speed is already done. Lertic is also on the way behind this. And the force field's trapping a few of the units. Photon Overcharge already in position. And the sentry is still dancing with the roaches here, trying to force them out, getting another good move in. But the Lynx up at the top, trying to take down the pile, and the cannons are ready. And this is looking decent for ShoWTime here. The third base still under a lot of attack. And the Protoss player moving in once more. The force field's actually working against him right now.
Okay, well, Photon Overcharge is going to go down immediately. I think he might be able to save this Nexus, even though it's a lot of Zerg and it's a lot of roaches over there. Few more good fortunes going down. I like so far the way that he's been zoning out just the right amount of units, but this Nexus is taking a lot of damage though. He needs a warp in desperately over here. He's using Guardian Shield, but he just actually can't deal with the units on the low ground, and the Nexus is going to fall, and that's pretty devastating for a Protoss.
A lot of the sentries have been killed as well. Jaedong is constantly swarming units and taking down now the first of the gateways. The Nexus already fallen, and most of the sentry is gone. ShoWTime really starting to struggle here. The defense at first looked actually really good, but there was just too much. And at some point it was really tricky for him to get the sentries over there to the choke point because they were all trapped behind the force fields.
Yeah, you have to be so careful because sentries are of course very squishy units. If you let a few units too many to go through, then they will all die pretty much immediately in the blink of an eye. So he had to be very careful. He dropped very cautious force fields. I thought I liked them, and I still felt like I did like them at first, but the cannon was just a few seconds too late. If he has that first cannon quicker than the first 2 force fields that zoned out, let's say 6, 7 Lings and 1 Roach, that will die immediately to a Zealot, a cannon, and a Mothership Core with Photon Overcharge there as well. But now he just lacked the DPS, and by the time that the cannon went up, there were just a few too many units there. The cannon is so crucial and pivotal in that part of the defense, and I felt it was just a little bit too late. Very unfortunate for ShoWTime. It's not 100% game over yet, because that was of course a massive investment for Jaedong as well, but Jaedong did get out of the investment what he was looking for.
Yeah, and Jaedong behind all of this, he was taking at the same time that he started to attack here. He killed the third base and he built his own Hydra then right afterwards. So suddenly ShoWTime, with the army that he has at this point, which mainly consists of gateway units, he's going up against the Zerg. The Zerglings rushing in again with roaches, with Hydra support even. He's going for the speed upgrade for the Hydras. Roach Hydra is going to be the mix that he's up against, and here comes once again Jaedong, gets his units ready. He trades a few of them off at this point. He's at 150 supply against 100, has a massive lead, gets his upgrades in, and ShoWTime, he just doesn't have any high tech that he could use against this.
I mean, stuff like this looks so simple, right? Jaedong is like, ah, small counterattack, any Zerg can do that, but that was actually brilliant by Jaedong, because if he had to defend immediately while he was going up to this Hydra count that he's going for, it could have been tricky. There could have been force field zoning out units coming from certain directions if he just had to defend. So he's like, you know what, best defense is offense. I'm gonna counterattack, I'm gonna force ShoWTime to turn around. Even if I lose these 10, 12 Zerglings and 4 Roaches, it does not matter, because the next time that he will be able to attack me, well, this time I'm gonna have more than enough Hydra. So really good counterattack there by Jaedong. Also, he took out the debris before that, made it easier for him to go for that counterattack. Small move, but that really secured his lead in this game.
It bought him a lot of ShoWTime for sure. And now he has that army size that he needs. 116 army size against 65. He's going in for the infestation pit. We're having the Roaches Hydra securing the map. He has complete map control at this point, and this is really tricky for ShoWTime. ShoWTime is now trying to go into into his own Colossi attack, but it's so late already. The one thing that he has are upgrades. He's going to the +3 attack upgrade, but in tech in general, he only can rely on that blink, and that's not going to be enough if you're up against this many Hydras on decent upgrades with a +1 attack upgrade, +2 coming in, and here comes the attack. Jaedong is going for it.
This is a very serious attack there as well. Jaedong has to be a tiny bit careful. He can't afford to lose all of these units, but now at least most of these Hydras will finally be able to go down that ramp, and this is just a very awkward spot. This Hydra number is very high. How do you engage this army as a Protoss if you don't have Storm, if you don't have Colossus? Well, I don't know. ShoWTime is going to have to pull a rabbit out of his hat.
Yeah, and at this point, we're having a nice wedge driven between the two bases of ShoWTime by Jaedong. He's in a great spot here. Half of the army is trapped to the left, and now he's starting to move in. Once again, the Photon Overcharge is still in place. Mothership Core is bouncing between the bases, but already running out of energy. And there's nearly no force fields on the high ground anymore for ShoWTime. He somehow has to defend against this, but Jaedong is just like, just buying his time here, waiting, and he has the time.
And he's taking out the Warp Prism as well in the main base. That's very nice for Jaedong. Doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He's trading out pretty efficiently over here. He's taking out a couple of Gateway units, gets the Mothership Core, got a Sentry or two. I must say still A for effort so far when it comes to this defense of ShoWTime, because that was really not easy, and he has bought enough time to probably get one Colossus out, but it wasn't for free. He has definitely paid the price. Now misrallied the few units on the right side of our screen. That Colossus is soon finally here, but it might actually just be too late. And if it's not too late, well, then the next problem will occur in a minute or two, and that is Vipers.
Yeah, and the sentry count is dropping too, since Jaedong is focusing them out very well. At some point, he had to blink the Stalkers away, exposing the sentries. The Colossus is being attacked immediately, doesn't micro it back any longer, loses that now too. The army supply down to 40 against 115, and ShoWTime is in so much trouble. Jaedong established another base, is currently on 4, not mining from the 4th yet, but he can of course transfer drones over at any point, and that robotics is getting sniped. No more Colossi for ShoWTime, and he is in so much trouble.
Yeah, this is Curtain's call for ShoWTime. He knows it as well. He's probably just rethinking this game right now in the back of his mind. Where did I go wrong? GG is called. Jaedong wins the first map here at the Gfinity Championship. Pretty convincing, but let's not forget that the commitment he made to that very first attack, that was a risky one though, because if that didn't play out the way it actually did, we're looking at a completely different game.
It was actually like a really nice fight that we had there. ShoWTime, as you mentioned before, he played it a bit passive force fields at first, and it looked for quite some time as if he would be able to just force Jaedong back. If Jaedong doesn't kill that Nexus in this situation, ShoWTime is in a very, very good spot there. But as it happens, the Nexus falls, the army as well, and not only the Nexus, he lost so many sentries with the defense too.
Yeah, and a pylon and a gateway over there as well. Our second map is going to be played on Gfinity Research, and the last, which I really want to talk about, so I kind of hope secretly that ShoWTime wins this one, it will be played on Cactus. I think the last thing that we can say on Coda, the map that Jaedong just won, is like very recently I watched Hawkcast a game, and PvZ on Echo, and he said in a scenario like this, where you go up to 3 bases quickly as Protoss, what you should do is always put the main units at the 3rd base, and in your natural you just throw up an extra cannon, you have 2 or 3 sentries there, and you have the Mothership Core there, but your main army is at your 3rd base. And I think if that would have been the case, it would have been harder for Jaedong to actually break ShoWTime the way he did, because then Jaedong can go up that ramp, because there are so many sentries there, and there is a pylon, that cannon will go up, and then he has to commit to the natural, but that's a little bit more awkward, because if he goes in too far, well, there's no retreat anymore, he will get locked in. And with a Nexus and a Photon Overcharge, that would have been ready immediately there. I wonder if we could say that ShoWTime made a mistake, that he should have maybe had more of his units at the 3rd base and less in the natural, and maybe throw up an extra cannon. But I guess he saw it rather late. Like, we thought he saw it, and he probably felt it, but he wasn't 100% sure until the Roaches were almost there.
Yeah, it was actually a really good point with the vision that he had. He was very, very unlucky with the first scout that he sent out, because the scout just passed all the units, and only the second one that he sent out finally got a glimpse of what was happening, and then he started to prepare. But that was definitely another thing in favor of Jaedong here, that his strategy didn't get revealed until it was basically too late for ShoWTime to do anything. But you are making a good point. He could have maybe sent a few more units over to that base. Just another sentry, for example, would have helped him so much better to just force all of the units out. And if the Zerglings don't get up that ramp, can't kill that cannon fast enough, then suddenly he has a very nice defense and a really solid position.
Well, our second game is going to be played on Vani Research. That is a map where I saw ShoWTime play an absolutely phenomenal game, I think against Kane it was, in the WCS quarterfinals of Season 1. He played a very cool style of going Nexus first, into Gate, into Stargate, where you get Stargate +1 with Phoenixes. And I think that's such a fun style to watch. It's a style I love playing myself as well. It's a style I love watching. And he played absolutely great against Kane. Now, of course, Jaedong is not Kane, but Kane is pretty damn good in this matchup as well. So I think there is a chance that we see ShoWTime may go for that similar build, as this was the map that he did it on.
Yeah, ShoWTime definitely has to get some kind of new approach to this now. The last one that didn't really work out for him on the newer map. Now we are playing, of course, here on Vani, down to the bottom of the map with a 1-0 lead in the best of 3 series here at the Gfinity Spring Masters. It is Jaedong. Jaedong with a solid lead here now, starting blue out to the bottom of the map. Very aggressive first game that he had. He's going up against the Protoss player from Germany, starting to the top. It is ShoWTime.
Now, before we go ahead and really talk about build orders and what is possible and not possible on Vani, I want to talk about ShoWTime, the person itself. Because when I saw ShoWTime coming up, he really reminds me of Hazu. And that's not just because they're both German and because they both play Protoss, but just the way that he sits. I feel like he has a similar posture to Hazu, the way that he talks as well.
Wow, Kevin, and playing to the stereotype.
No, I just like, I love it. To me, he is a modern Hazu Ops. Is it just me, or do you see some sort of resemblance between the two?
No, actually, no.
That is just me, I guess.
But it's also because Hazops to me is like, first of all, there are two versions of Hazops to me. One is like the current guy, and the other one is this like 15-year-old kid that was that just joined Mousesports when I was manager of the team back then, that drove with me to Copenhagen. So these are just the two versions of Hazo that I have in my head. But we're having an expansion at the gold here by Jaedong to start things off.
Yeah, this is a very popular thing right now on Vani, and I'm actually not sure what the best Protoss thing to do against this is, because there are a couple of builds where you just want to be overly aggressive against this, but then the Zerg just barely hangs there, and then suddenly as a Protoss player you're stuck on a relatively poor economy. It is very nice for ShoWTime though that he's going to scout this as early as he does. He sees nothing here, so now he probably knows already. It's like, alright, you're taking the gold, right? Well, let's just hope that he only takes one, because there's also a ridiculous Zerg base, build where he actually take both gold bases, and well, that's when things really get very weird.
You're doing really, really well on ladder yourself these days. What do you think would be the best option for ShoWTime right now? What should he do against? Is he scouting it already, as he said? What are the options that he has?
I think putting on a little bit of early pressure is not bad, just to force out a couple of units, especially because it's hard for Zerg to transfer drones to that base, right? Like, having a gold base is obviously awesome, but you need to saturate it. If you want to saturate it, you have to transfer drones, and if you then have to deal with early pressure, you have to run those drones around, and then you're actually hurting your own economy quite a bit. So I think it's very smart he's sending this Zealot across that, but other than that, I'm not 100% sure what he should do. Some Protoss players really like to go for strong 2-base attacks. Other Protoss players say like, well, you're just kind of gonna have to play it out, you know, just try to play as solid and legit as possible. And I think that's what ShoWTime is going to do over here, because when I look at him, well, he's getting a second Zealot, and that is already a little bit on convention. No, he cancelled it, right? Yeah, I think that makes sense, because look at the amount of Zerglings that were already on the way. What are you gonna do with 2 Zealots against like 12, 14 Zerglings?
Yeah, Lings are on the way, and so far it's only one Zealot and the Probe here, and of course he's trying to just keep those drones off the mineral patches for as long as he can, but with this few units there's very little that he can do. The Probe is already down, the Zealot is being attacked now as well. Didn't really get too much done. Do you think in a situation like this, even though you bought a bit of time, it's worth it?
Yeah, I think that Zealot was definitely worth it, because we saw those drones run around a little bit, and he forced out more Zerglings than Jaedong would have liked to make. I think it's very smart. Like I said, he cancelled that second Zealot. Now, what is possible, but you're playing with fire then, because if it doesn't go this way, and you cannot be 100% sure as a Protoss that it goes this way, is that you want to make a strong, let's say, 4 or 5 gateway attack, and you just hope that the Zerg has been very greedy and that his speed is very late. And if you look at Jaedong's production tab, we see his first extractor is just now going down. So calculate 44 seconds to mine 100 gas, and then take an additional 110 seconds before speed is ready. That means that ShoWTime would have a window to do some serious 4 gateway pressure with Stalkers against only slow Lings, if he wanted to do that. But well, actually we see the Stargate going down, so it doesn't really matter what I just said. But theoretically that could have been possible, but that's only because we have full vision, and we see how late that gas is, and that's something that ShoWTime can't possibly know, because for all he knows, that extractor was down a minute ago, and then, you know, he would have been digging his own grave.
Exactly, he just had one probe in the main base of Jaedong earlier on, and he knew that there was no gas at that point, but Jaedong could have thrown it down during that time at any point in the game, and that would of course be immediately his downfall. It's interesting that we also see immediately a Spore Crawler being killed by Jaedong, trying to be super safe here, and he is not going to find out about that Stargate anytime soon, but he's already preparing for the eventuality.
Yeah, I think it's...
oh, actually saw it.
Well, okay, he did see the Stargate. Well, then I'm still surprised that he got it that early. I felt that Spore was more of an absolute safety emergency Spore against the quickest Dark Templars ever.
I actually think he built the Spore Crawler before he saw the Stargate.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was more just like, well, I want to have at least one, because that Spore would have been too early against the Stargate. Because even when you see a Stargate as a Zerg, you don't want to drop the Spores immediately. You want to let that drone make a few more trips to those mineral patches, because, you know, on this level, all small things matter, and there's no need to cut out 3 drones of your 35 drone economy when you can take out 3 drones of your 45 drone economy, which would hurt you quite a bit less.
Yeah, we have upgrades now with the +1 armor upgrade for Jaedong, and with those Spore Crawlers, he's going to be super safe against the Oracle that ShoWTime is trying to use. Important is, of course, that he keeps that Oracle alive. First of all, he can use it for Revelation later. You can always try to sneak it in to get a couple of Harvesters, then if your opponent doesn't pay attention. Right now, of course, Jaedong is focused on the Oracle, since he knows that ShoWTime wants to do some damage with it. But we're having Jaedong going straight into the layer attack now as well, and with those links, with the +1 armor upgrade.
A lot of links. It's a lot of links. It's not just a few. Jaedong right now has 40 Zerglings out on the map. I think there's absolutely no way in hell that ShoWTime is going to be able to defend this third base. Even if he has an Oracle there, and Oracles deal ridiculous amounts of damage against Zerglings, I still don't think that's going to be enough. I mean, yes, this Oracle is going to get 10, 12 kills, but I still think that Jaedong is easily going to get a cancel on that base. And right now, as ShoWTime, you're just hating life, man. You're just like, oh, damn it, nothing is going my way this game, or this series.
He has to cancel it, he loses the pylon now too, and of course the +1 armor upgrade is all going to help those links to really be effective throughout the entire game right now. It's pretty much what TLO did for a long time, getting a fast +1 attack upgrade. So those links not only useful to cancel out that third, but they are going to be useful for a long time with that upgrade. And he's going for it again.
Yeah, he's going to do it again. This time there are a lot of sentries, so he has to be a little bit more careful. I like that very early safety force field, just because you don't want to make sure you don't lose those sentries. But still, though, Jaedong already again got what he was looking for.
Yeah.
His drone count is not spectacular, but of course he does have the gold base. But they're actually surprisingly close in workers. But let's not forget that ShoWTime is doing this of 2 bases, while Jaedong is doing it of 3 bases and having a gold base. So
exactly, the force field, the get lost force field, just showing like, I got sentries here, just like go away right now. I don't want to fight you with this. But yeah, as you already said, I mean, the income right now is amazing for Jaedong thanks to that gold. And here, once again, the force fields are there. There's another one up to the top. Can't sneak into that main base. And with all those units around, Jaedong doesn't want to risk it. He knows that if he takes this gold base, sorry, if he takes that third, even if he's able to kill it, it would be too costly.
You know, I think it's very funny is that in the previous patch, while Swarmos were as scary as they were, ShoWTime was often going up to High Templars before Colossus. Right now, he's doing the opposite. While I feel that in this day and age, that High Templar attack would have been even stronger, because it's very unlikely that you have to worry about those Swarmos pushes that are so deadly when you actually go for High Templars and skip Colossus. So I kind of wonder what the thought process is behind that for ShoWTime, because I was really digging that High Templar style that he was showing us over the last few months.
Yeah, at this point, he's just like trying to rely a bit more on the Oracle. By the way, got 4 kills in. He's still alive between a natural and a third place, so he's going to send that in every now and then and try to get a couple of kills. 19 kills in total, by the way. That, of course, includes also the Zerglings that he took down earlier. And he gets vision with it, which helps a lot. Jaedong, by the way, goes into the +2 armor upgrade, and like, on that rate, it's going to be extremely difficult for ShoWTime to get his Zealots to an upgrade count where they can really deal easily with the Zerglings here. He's going for the +2 attack upgrade, but by the time it's going to be done, it's only a small timing window that he can use before Jaedong completes +2 armor, and back we are to the 3 hits per link.
I mean, I would really love to see a RoboBay going down. As so far, he has just used the robotics facility for observers, and now he's getting a prism. But Jaedong, with as rich as he is and as rich as he has been over the last 4 or 5 minutes in this game, I mean, yes, theoretically, Blink Stalkers and Sentries can kill infinite amount of Hydras, but I think this is going to be a very, very unfortunate fight for ShoWTime, unless he just drops force fields out of Protoss Heaven, straight out of Ire or something. But I don't know, this is a very scary situation in my opinion to be in as a Protoss, when you just don't really have a definite answer against that soon-to-be massive Hydra count with also pretty damn good upgrades.
And the big problem is also that he's running out of time. Jaedong has 4 bases and one of them being a gold, so time is working against ShoWTime here. Yes, he has 3 bases, but still that income for Jaedong is insane. ShoWTime is doing some nice harass with that with the Oracle. Still, he got another 5 drone kills, so that's already pretty sweet that he can always just rely on that. I also love how he always sends out 2 hallucinated phoenixes instead of 1, just to make sure that he definitely gets the scouting information in, despite all the queens and the spore crawlers that we have down there.
Now, what I like about this game so far is it's been very dynamic, right? Both players have been very active with units out on the map. Jaedong has been looking for opportunities with his Zerglings non-stop. ShoWTime has been trying to push creep back a little bit, get a couple of free kills here and there, at least pose some sort of a threat with his force fields. And now he sends in a Warp Prism in the natural, and that's a pretty big, legit warp in. He's gonna right-click on this hatchery, the hatchery that Snoot never takes because it's so susceptible to drops. And at the same time, we've got a massive engagement, no time warp going down. ShoWTime, like, he has a Colossus on the way, he gets that hatchery. This is actually...
That was really well done. I mean,
Yes.
he was starting to attack with the army in the middle of the map and therefore focusing Jaedong's attention. Jaedong, though, with a flank with Lynx trying to cover the retreat, goes straight for those sentries. The first one already down, the force fields are there, but he's still not able to really push everything back. And just look at this army. It's just being eaten away, eaten alive. He loses every single sentry. Blinks away when the stalk is exposed. The sentries, all of them are down, and Jaedong just moves in with all of the Hydras that he has and crushes the Protoss army.
All the sentries have died. Jaedong said, "You're trying to force field me out. I'll force field you out with my Zergling, son." As he just trapped that army, all the sentries died. Now finally there is a Colossus, but if this Colossus would have been with the army, while all the sentries would have still been alive, this would have been so good for ShoWTime. Instead, it's an absolute disaster. That was absolutely magnificent for Jaedong, but his supply is dropping quite a bit as well. ShoWTime lost the Nexus, but if he would have been able to save the probes, then I don't think it would have been a disaster. But now he lost 17 probes and the Nexus, well, then things go from bad to worse.
That Colossus at the top of the ramp did so much work. All those Hydras trapped at the bottom, just they melted away. The Colossus got so many free shots and 23 kills on this one. But as you said, he did not only kill the Nexus, he also killed those 18 Harvesters. If ShoWTime maybe somehow could have kept those sentries alive, he might have been able to use force fields against Jaedong. But without the force fields, there was just no winning this.
Oh man, that was so cool what Jaedong did there though, because ShoWTime was dropping very preemptive force fields, but he was doing the right thing, because he's like, okay, I don't want to get trapped by Zerglings, but somehow Zerglings managed to get on the north side of that Protoss army, and somehow, like, they were not even fighting most of the time. They were just like, hold position, fight, stop, just like preventing that army from running away. And eventually there were just too many Hydras coming in from like almost 360 degrees, and all those sentries, you know, it's like, they're like flies, you know, if one fall, they all fall. Awesome by Jaedong though. Great army movement throughout the middle of the map there.
And really unfortunate for ShoWTime, because at the same time he killed that base of Jaedong. He had a really nice setup there with the Warp Prism. So much pressure against it. Jaedong couldn't save it because he was focused in the middle of the map. If ShoWTime retreats there and gets his units to safety, he's in a very good spot against Jaedong all of a sudden. But as is, we're having Hive Tech for Jaedong. He goes into the Ultralisk Cavern, Adrenal Glands, like he's pulling out all the stops now.
I personally think it's very funny. He's dropping the Ultralisk Cavern in the only place that he's been so far successfully dropped in this series, where he lost the hatchery. It's like, Jaedong, you're just laughing in the face of danger right now. Like, if once again 10 Zealots will be wiped in over there is a chance he loses that Ultra Cavern. Because that Ultralisk Cavern, I think that's the only massive problem for ShoWTime in this game. Well, other than the small problem that he's down 40 supply. But if Jaedong gives him a little bit more time, then he can work on that problem. Like, Ling Hydra is never going to kill Colossus and Storm at the same time, right? If that army gets up to 155, 160 supply, you can easily kill a 200 supply Zerg army of that kind. But as soon as Ultras are in the mix as well, well, things get complicated for Protoss, because then you need Archons, then you need Immortals.
Yeah.
And obviously, he's not that rich because he took a lot of economic hits this game.
Yeah, talking about economic hits, that Oracle is still doing work the entire time. It's just like only a small thing, but we have 31 kills on it by now. It just keeps alive, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. Here comes that first Storm, eating those Ling hit points away. He really needs to make sure they use the Vipers too. Here comes Ultra's Cavern, the Warp Prism.
Oh, that would have been such a great weapon. Okay, it's really important that he pays attention. He needs to feed back those Vipers. Those Storms are great. Blinding Cloud is going down, but I don't think that's the scariest Blinding Cloud in history. The Storms are magnificent so far. Colossus doing serious work on the Zerglings, but this Nexus is still going to fall again, and the Colossus is going to fall as well. That's very unfortunate. ShoWTime, if you would have been able to kill that Ultralisk Cavern, that would have been massive, but now there are 5 Ultras on the way. And again, ShoWTime takes massive economic damage. Like, the main base is going to be mined out soon, if it's not mined out already, because it's 20 minutes into the game. And even your natural at this point is starting to run a little dry. So ShoWTime is basically a one-base Protoss at the 20-minute mark at 100 supply.
ShoWTime is trying to get that base back in, and of course he killed that army of Jaedong, but Jaedong is already rebuilding his entire force. We're having also with the Spire now, so that makes the tech switch possible for him, and he can also go into Corruptors against the Colossi. He already killed 2 of them with the Vipers earlier, with those Yanks, got them in, and now at this point he's just like, he's on 5 bases. Jaedong controls the map, he has creep everywhere, he sees ShoWTime coming from a mile away, runs Zerglings past the Protoss army, trying to send them in straight towards that 3rd base attempt, and we're having even a greater Spire now started for him.
Yeah, Jaedong has a ridiculous amount of gas banked up, by the way. That's insane. 2,700 gas as a Zerg player. Exposed base over here, that's very nice. This Oracle truly has been an absolute nuisance throughout this game for Jaedong, but you know, Jaedong has always been in a position where he is able to lose a couple of
40
drones
kills,
here and there.
that's an achievement right there.
Yeah, that's if he didn't have that one unlocked yet, then he definitely has it right now. And ShoWTime might be able to kill this hatchery, but that doesn't really mean much because the gold base has been mined out anyway. And as we just noticed, gas is something that Jaedong does not have to worry about at all.
Unless he goes into Swarm Host now.
You know what I would do if I was ShoWTime? Throw down a dark Shrine. And then just hope that Jaedong makes a really big attack with ultras and no detection.
Went behind Dark Shrine?
Yeah. No, I actually think that Jaedong is like, Overseer is a good investment right now. It's like, if I was ShoWTime, I'd make a Dark Shrine. It's like, that's right, Jaedong, that's what I just said.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of Ultralists now on the map. Still those Warpins, and they are starting to do some work. At least they buy him a bit of time, and also they reveal what Jaedong is up to. They reveal
massive engagement on the left top side of the map right now.
Yeah.
And there is just no answer to these Ultras, Calder.
Oh, and immediately goes for the Storm again. Look at those Zerglings just melting away there, but as you already pointed out, Kevin, the Ultralists are the big problem, and those Storms only tickle those beasts. Yep. Suddenly we have Storms coming down again. The Stalkers are trying to do what they can, focusing down the Ultras one by one, but they just force everything back here. Down goes the Viper. So far so good, but the Ultras are going to town, pressuring the entire Protoss army with back to the wall, and at the same time the Nexus is getting attacked as well. Blinding Clouds going down, and Jaedong just streaming an endless flow of units over to the top side of the map.
Yeah, these Archons actually did do a very good job in buying a little bit of time, and I think eventually ShoWTime will stabilize here. Will he be able to save the Nexus though? Nah, that's not going to happen. That one Immortal has done serious work. If we had a DPS counter right now in this game, I'm gonna make this terrible joke, it would be over 9,000 because he's been shooting at these Ultras forever. Eventually it does finally fall, but that one Immortal allowed ShoWTime to stay alive over here, but he has lost his 3rd base again!
For the 4th time, I think. 4th or 5th time. I mean, that 3rd base is just not meant to be. He should take another one.
Take the gold, man. Just like let it go.
Exactly.
Acceptance has to sink in by now.
Well, in Germany we call that beratungsresistent. That's basically the exact word, the exact thing that we're happening there. And I mean, ShoWTime, he is a German player. Apparently that holds true for him. Queen's caught out on the map, apparently going for a bit of a journey, but transfusing each other the entire time. And the Stalkers have to move away. Here comes ShoWTime trying to prevent the Broodlords for now, but Broodlords are also now a weapon that Jaedong can rely upon. That one Immortal, very, very brave here, but actually kills the Ultralist, but he has a few hands.
It's ridiculous how close the supply is, because I think if we take a look at the resource score in this game, ShoWTime is gonna GG out.
GG and taps out. But what a resilient game from ShoWTime. I mean, like, he's been staying alive for much longer than I thought he would be able to.
And also a small shout out to those 2 queens keeping each other alive at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Better love story than Twilight, if you ask me. Did you see that?
That's not very, very hard.
No, but that was true love though. They kept each other going. There was one Colossus shooting laser at them. Overall, I think this was a very entertaining game of StarCraft. I think an excellent way to start off this weekend full of hopefully amazing StarCraft 2 action. I think ShoWTime played very well, got a little bit unfortunate. Jaedong definitely took a reasonable amount of risk in his play in game 1 with that big Roach Ling attack, and in game 2 as well, making all those Lings, but he just anticipated on the fact that, well, ShoWTime, you opened up with a Stargate, most likely you're just going to try to go up to 3 bases rather quickly behind this, because that's what Protoss players do right now. It's like, well, I got the gold, I can't afford to make 40 Zerglings right now, and I don't think you will be able to keep that base alive against 40 Zerglings, and ShoWTime wasn't. And from that point on, it was basically just a story of ShoWTime trying to get his 3rd base and losing it over and over and over again. again.
He was really trying. He was trying hard, but the lack of force fields in the first fight really backfired. And then later on, it was just like Jaedong was always a step ahead. He went for the ultralist, as he said. There was just no response from ShoWTime. When he saw what was coming, he immediately started to build those immortals, and they did a lot of work. But he never really got a hold of what happened there. The Colossus also very symptomatic in the Hydralisk attack. He had only one, came in late, did a lot of work, but was just a bit too late to really turn the tides of the battle.
Yeah, actually in both games that was the same story. The Colossus that just arrived, let's say 30, 40 seconds too late, in-game seconds. So basically 15 real seconds or 20. Because if he would have been there, it just changes the entire dynamic of that battle. You know, Zergling Hydra against one Colossus, even if it doesn't have thermal lens or amazing upgrades, does not matter. It changes everything. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. I'm very curious to see what the boys at the analysis room have to say about our very first series of the day.
Well, thanks a lot for that, Roddy. Appreciate it. It was a bit of a crazy game. I mean, the first thing I want to say is great prediction from De Muslim. He actually said it was going to be 3-2 to ShoWTime in a best of 3. So back to bed, I think.
My prediction was a little off, I must admit. But, just a little off.
Yeah, just a tad.
But no, I got to say, like, really well played by Jaedong. Like, he was just unrelenting with his aggression constantly. Like, the Ling Roach attack in both games did so much damage, always cancelling that third.
Yeah.
And ShoWTime, like, he never really knew how to defend that third and keep it up. I mean, his army was always trying to defend his main and natural, whereas like most Protosses that I see, they try and have their army at the third, and while their third's still being produced, they use Planetary Nexus on the natural to defend, while using like force fields to defend, but he just seemed to have like no real clue where to be. And I mean, I say that in a harsh kind of way, but it always meant that his third was going to fall no matter what, and then Jaedong would always have a lead going on into the mid game and the late game, and that's kind of what happened.
I felt in the first game the main problem for ShoWTime was that his first hallucination scout was very late, and he saw the push only when it arrived at his doorstep. And to make the snap decision, okay, I can hold this in between my bases with force fields, it's a very difficult decision to make, because if you don't hold it there, you lose everything. There's no going back. So he played it safer, but in the end, it wasn't actually the proper response. He lost his third base, he lost about 5 sentries, and from there on out, it's going to be such a difficult game. For the Coda map. The second map opens up Oracle, doesn't do any damage with the Oracle.
Got it scouted instantly.
Got it scouted instantly. You play against the gold, so you know the other guy is going to be a little bit aggressive, but for some reason he just didn't have the units out to defend the third. And if your third gets cancelled, and it's going to be such a difficult game against a Zerg of Jaedong's caliber.
Yeah.
Kept on putting on the aggression, never went above 66, 67 drones.
Didn't build Immortals though.
Didn't build Immortals, Richard.
No, he didn't. I was screaming at the monitor. Why hasn't he built Immortals? Why hasn't it happened? Because as we all know about Immortals, they don't die.
They don't die, Richard.
That's why
Especially
they're Immortals.
Yeah.
So you should have done that probably.
Some solid analysis here from Richard.
Thanks. I'm glad you're feeling it. But no, just to quickly wrap it up, one thing you got to say is, I mean, while ShoWTime did put on a brave fight towards the end, it did take him a long time to sort of yield and die. Jaedong looked in control the entire series.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, considering we thought this might be a potential banana skin for him, and you did vouch that ShoWTime was going to win. I mean, what can we learn about Jaedong's form? Is he imperious?
There's a few things that we can take from that. Like ShoWTime, he's a little shaky against Zerg, and I think that's not down to him being bad by any means. I think his confidence is just a little rocked in the matchup. Like he's obviously very competent and very mechanically gifted as a player. Just a few things. He's probably kind of second guessing. Like, is this the right move? Should I be here? Maybe I shouldn't. And you have to be really decisive when you make a decision. Like, there's no going back, and that's it's kind of affecting me a little bit. Whereas at Jaedong, like it was clean. It was very clean. Like maybe he didn't have enough drones in certain situations and what have you. But like his Overlord, he just used one Overlord to scout, and it was in the perfect location, you know, and he got to scout it immediately. So I think, like, just from looking at those games, Jaedong looked solid. He looked very confident in his play, and ShoWTime looked a little bit shaky, and he really needs to get that sorted out because, I mean, a few weeks ago even, he was a PvZ monster, and this isn't the same ShoWTime I'm seeing.
Well, we'll just have a look and see what that does to the bracket. We're going to bring that up for you guys at home just so you can see. So obviously we had the other game that was going on at the same time, and you can see that True triumphed over Hyun, which I don't know if you think a little bit surprised by that.
Well, True has been staying in Europe recently. so maybe I would be surprised.
We all know Europe's the best.
We all know Europe is the best, of course. And he has been playing in Korea, so I am a bit surprised, but I also played a lot against True in preparation for my own WCS match, and he felt extremely strong, better than before. He feels a bit the form that he had when he did very well in GSL, which was about a year ago, I would say. He made a deep run into the round of 4, and he feels like he's getting back to that great form that he didn't really showcase for the past 8 to 9 months. And maybe this is the tournament where we're going to see it again.
Yeah, so I mean, I was surprised by that. I thought that might have been a mistake when it was coming through my ear. I was like, are you sure? You double check that, but no, apparently that did really happen. We'll go back to the schedule because obviously we've got lots of great games coming for you thick and fast, so we'll just bring that up for you now so you can look at home. And we are going to be bringing you, now that we've got Jaedong and ShoWTime done and dusted, we're going to have Bunny versus MC. After that, we're going to have Bling versus SOS, the hometown hero Bling going up against one of the Korean greats, one of the form players. That should be interesting. And of course, Solar versus Hydra. And if you want to watch some of the players that aren't going to be coming on our main broadcast, you can of course watch the other people in action through our partners at Base Trade TV, twitch.tv/BaseTrade TV. So, onwards and upwards. What do we think about this next match? You know, Bunny versus MC. I think this is a game that's got a lot of potential to be a very exciting series and could go either way.
This is really cool because this is the best foreigner currently. I don't think there's anybody that argues with that. Like Snoop, very good. There's other people that are very exceptionally good. ShoWTime, but Bunny, he's been so consistent now for so long that it's not even a question. And he's up against a guy that's been around for a very long time, the Boss Toss.
Yeah.
Now MC, he's confident to the bone no matter who he plays, and it shows in his style. You know, he's been barrel rolling people with Mass Stalkers right from day one. But against Bunny, I don't think you can get away with that kind of style. Like MC plays in a way that he kind of relies on his opponent making mistakes against just how aggressive he is. But Bunny's got to a level now where he doesn't really make mistakes, and I'm thinking Bunny here. I honestly am.
Just quickly, some thoughts from you.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same thing. Maybe it's because I know Bunny better. I haven't seen MC in quite some time, but when you play against Bunny, it's like very difficult to force out mistakes. He hardly makes them, so I would definitely say Bunny is the favorite in this series. Before, they played about a year ago, I think they played maybe last Gfinity as well, or the one that Bunny won. I think Bunny has a pretty good record against MC overall. I think their styles match up very good for Bunny.
Well, so we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back, and thanks for your thoughts there, and thanks for humouring me about the Immortals thing. It's nice to feel like I know what I'm talking about. Great,
a little bit of time.
Yeah, just a little bit of the time, but we'll be back after. So we're going to take a short break now to all you people at home. Don't go too far though, because we're going to be back with Bunny and MC after the break. See you then.